Welcome to another edition of Red the Survivor. Red C. Jackson has over 20 years of experience surviving in the wilderness. He's an experienced cryptozoologist as well as famed tracker. In this episode, you'll see how to survive in the high desert of New Mexico.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 69 of Red the Survivor. We're out here in the Bisti Badlands of New Mexico with a high desert where it gets to be 120 degrees in the afternoon in the summertime and drops way down into the 30s and 40s in the evening. We're talking some powerful changes in temperature here. Very, very difficult environment to survive in if you're an amateur. I'm here today to tell you about how to make it in the environment of the high desert of New Mexico. Follow along with me as I tell you about some of the nature out here and how I'm going to survive the night in the following days in the high desert of New Mexico, Bisti Badlands. If you come on over here near this tree right here, you'll see that it's loaded with berries. These different berries that you see on here are all edible. They're little pinyon berries. You just peel the skin off there just a little bit like so, and you can suck on them all day and get enough moisture, keep you alive for weeks out here. But you got to know which ones are the right ones. These real bright white ones, those are the ones full of moisture. If you see a brown one or a black one, don't pick it up. It's probably a rabbit pellet. Work your way down this way over here. You'll notice that there's a dry creek bed here, a dry stream bed. When you get the infrequent afternoon thunder boomers coming through, what'll happen is this will rush full of water, and you can also get water that way as well, coming down yonder through here. Moving down this way, you'll notice we've got a sandstone formation here. All kinds of good shade. Good area to be able to get some shade. Maybe even if you dig down back in there, you might even find an old spring, something along those lines. So if you're looking for water, that's a place where you might be able to find some. Here's another one of those pinyon trees with a nice white berries that you can eat. But be careful of the brown and black ones. They'll get you in trouble every time. Now I've set up a campsite down the way here. I want to show you just how I've set it up so you can survive in the high desert of New Mexico. Follow me down to the camp and I'll show you some techniques that'll make you a surefire winner and survivor in the desert. Now that you've seen some of the floral and fauna here in the high desert of New Mexico, I want you to notice how I'm dressed. First off, notice my hat. My hat reflects the sunlight and it also keeps me nice and warm in the sunshine, keeps the heat in my body. Notice my long hair here also helps to keep the heat in because it can get powerful cold out here in the desert. The next thing you want to wear is bright colors. Notice how I have a bright orange hunter's vest on. Whenever you're in the wilderness, you want to be spotted by low-flying aircraft or helicopters, especially if you're lost. So keep in mind, you want to wear a hat, long hair, and a good bright colored vest. This vest will also keep you warm at night in those cold nights. Don't forget my jeans. Nice dark colored jeans here will attract the sunlight, keep you plenty warm so you don't freeze to death out here. The next most important element that you need if you're going to be lost in the desert is a couple of boys. Take a look over yonder over here, these two fellas right here. I picked both of these up down in Ciudad Juarez. One's named Bean, the other one's named Chi. Wave to the camera, fellas. Now, one of the most important things to keep in mind is that these boys work for real powerful cheap. And if you don't want them to work for you anymore, you can kind of soft shoo them away by calling the number at the bottom of this screen. Once again, notice the number at the bottom of this screen. Those boys, you call that number and they'll just be hauled right away for you. The next thing that's important to know about these kind of workers is you don't have to pay no health insurance, no retirement, and no Social Security. So they work for dirt cheap. In addition to that, they'll carry all kinds of supplies for you out in the desert, and the heat doesn't bother them one lick. All right, the next thing that you need, if you're going to be lost in the desert, you got to make sure you're carrying this with you, because if you're not, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. This is a Rubbermaid ice chest. When you got an ice chest like this, you can fill her up full of cool ones. Now my choice is a beer. I like drinking beer just about any time of the day. And the best thing about drinking beer while you're in the desert is it really hydrates you. Keeps you fully hydrated and liquid filled. Nothing like a nice cold beer when you're out in the desert. It's 120 degrees. And it gives you a nice tingly sensation if you drink enough of them. And it takes away that anxiety, you know, you're lost in the wilderness. Maybe nobody's going to find you, but you sure will feel good. The next thing that you need, and I know a lot of hikers and campers and environmental type people are kind of scared of these kind of things, but I really recommend you start packing a firearm with you whenever you go hiking, fishing, riding your bike, or whatever. I personally recommend a double barrel shotgun. This is called the double up. Fires 2 rounds at the same time. Not only could you shoot somebody that's trying to attack you or take you down, you could kill a wild animal and eat it. You could also use it to signal for help. So the double up gun, it's not very heavy. You can buy it at your local Walmart, and it's easy to carry around. You can put a little strap on it if you're a mountain biker and carry it on your back like so. Personally, I prefer just to carry it around like this, just with both hands, so I can have easy access to it if something comes near me I need to shoot. The next thing you need is a very, very, very critical thing. Now, a lot of you tutti frutti folks out there like to carry these little guys with them out into the wilderness. A little tiny phone like this. That's no good. If you're backpacking or camping, you want a phone that's going to have some range for you. A cellular phone that's going to have a range of 100 to 150 miles. You probably heard of the old bag phone back in the day, but this is called a sack phone. What you do is you get the sack phone out, and it's a phone that's in a sack, and you pop up the antenna just like so. Pop it out like this. You can punch in your numbers or wherever you're trying to call, and you'll be able to reach anybody within 100 to 150 miles. You'll be able to call for help. It only weighs about 15 pounds, so it's not a whole lot for a backpacker to have to carry or a mountain biker to carry into the wilderness. If you go to sackphone.com, you'll be able to find these on the internet, so check that out, sackphone.com. Very, very important safety feature if you're going to be lost in the wilderness. The last but most important element, if you're going to be lost in the desert, is you need a place where you can have some shelter. If you'll follow me over here, I'm going to show you my shelter of choice when I'm lost in the desert, or in the mountains for that matter. This is a 1986 Tioga Arrow by Fleetwood. It's got an Econoline 350 Ford engine in it. It'll dig traction. It'll have traction in any kind of road surface that you need to go through. Also, notice up on the roof, it's got air conditioning, as well as a heater and an ice box. This little baby has gotten me through all kinds of tough jams. Gets about 2 miles to the gallon, but it's worth every gallon of it. Now, one thing I need to tell you guys is that if you're going to be lost in the desert and you can't have an ice chest full of beer, a gun, as well as a sack phone, along with an RV, then you may as well not get lost at all. Don't even think about going into the desert wilderness, because you will die within 24 hours. But if you're equipped like Red, you won't have any trouble whatsoever. I'm going to wander yonder up here and take a look around the desert scenery here and kind of enjoy some of those berries I was showing you earlier. They kind of have a little kick to them after you eat enough of them.
Thank you for watching this episode of Red the Survivor. Next week, Red will be in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at Santa Fe State Penitentiary, to see how well he can survive in incarceration. All the information presented in Red the Survivor is a joke. Please don't try this at home, kids. This episode of Red the Survivor is brought to you by sackphone.com. Check out sackphone.com on the internet at sackphone.com. All the information presented in Red the Survivor is a joke. Please don't try this at home, kids.